What up, everyone? Welcome back to the Anime Version podcast. Today we're discussing Bocchi the Rock, and we have Briggs with me. What up, Briggs?
What up, boys? How's it going? Welcome back to another Anime Virgin podcast. Today we are covering Bocchi the Rock. Sadly,
Yes.
not about a rock. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I did think it would be a better rock, so I was confused because I remember us watching To Your Eternity, and I was like, this will be like that about a rock, but it wasn't. It was not, but I'm okay with it. It's always interesting when Briggs recommends these anime which wouldn't really be considered like masculine anime, right?
Yeah,
But
it's not
like,
a typical anime. I'm not a huge fan of the moe slice of life genre. However, I watched this anime, Bocchi the Rock. About if anyone I'm very nasally today, guys. I'm a little bit sick, so bear with me. But I watched Bocchi the Rock a couple weeks ago, and then I messaged Gozen, or I told Gozen, I'm like, we need to do this for Anime Virgin. Like, I'm obsessed. So Gozen, what are your initial impressions as the Anime Virgin for this episode?
my initial impressions are positive.
Mm-hmm.
I like slice of life anime, so there are some people who don't give a fuck about it. For me, I've always liked slice of life anime. I like the the kind of stuff you'd see every day. It's sort of like relaxing in a sense because there isn't like these demon lords trying to take over the world and shit. It's just like usually people going through life and chill vibes. Obviously, this adds in the spin that there's over the top slice of life moments and specifically over the top internal reactions to things, which I thought was great for describing like an introvert or explaining them because you have normal life which from the outside would look normal for everyone, like nothing crazy is happening, but then her internal dialogue and the way the animation goes about expressing it is always over the top, and it's like you're not missing any of the craziness you get in the hype shonen shows.
100%. 100%. I think you could tell that there was a lot of passion from like whoever animated this,
Yes, that
right?
that stood out to me as well. Yeah.
100%, because every time there was like an inner dialogue from Botri, it's like you could there was a lot of effort put into her facial expressions, the sound effects, and even like there was one scene where it was like her in her own head tugging at her own hair. It's like they didn't need to go through that much effort and like that much animation and movement, but like those little things just make you appreciate the struggle that she's going through internally even more, right?
Yeah, like the creativity
Mm-hmm.
is easy to overlook, but mind-boggling when you actually start to think about it, because you have all of these. Like I took some film classes in university, so let's actually use that for once in my life.
Hell yeah.
They they actually get creative with mixing up the styles. It's not always animation even. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they just to express something, they'll show different waterfalls across the world, or they'll show different animation styles, like those stop image clay animations, and it's like nothing is off limits to express the emotion. And it's very easy to overlook that and just like find the humor in it. But wow, bro, like that's actually from an artistic perspective, I really respect that. Just
100%.
showing a love of not only this manga clearly, because obviously, like you said, I really felt the love of the source material and the having fun with it. Just like they were
100%.
talking about musicians, like you could tell if they're into it or not, and that's like that carries over to the fan. I definitely felt that way about this, which is it's art, right?
So
Um,
I never like referred to the initial like or the original source material at all. So I wonder how many liberties the studio actually took. But to me, it feels like they did. They took a lot of like
yes,
artistic
so
liberties with
I can
expression.
comment on that. I can comment on that not because I read the manga, but because I was ready ahead of time for the podcast. So I'm like, let's see what people on the internet are saying about Bocchi. So I actually watched a YouTube video,
Nice.
and it was emphasized that the anime did add a lot to the source material. And if you watch, like, let's say if you read the manga, then you go to the anime, you'll feel like how we talk about all the time, like animation actually elevates it. there's all this like in between stuff that the animation is adding in between the panels.
Hmm.
While if you watch the anime first and go to the manga, some people actually feel disappointed because you miss a lot of that extra stuff. Not saying it's not there, the spirit of it is probably there, but obviously it's hard to compete with everything the anime is doing.
100%. And
Like,
that's a successful adaptation. When the adaptation enhances the source material, right? That's a successful adaptation. I will say I'm usually not a slice of life guy, and I want to give everyone a premise here real quick. But I think for the most part, it's not even that I'm not a slice of life guy. I just find with a lot of slice of life anime, they try to just like you don't need a big budget for a slice of life because it's there's usually not over the top animation. There's not crazy fight scenes.
see,
It's
that's debatable though. But like you could probably get away with it easier.
well, I mean, dude, you don't think Chainsaw Man and like ideally most battle shonen need a larger budget per episode than a slice of life anime where they're in a classroom having conversations,
Yeah,
right?
so it's not obvious that like something is amiss. I agree, but a lot of slice of life anime can find uses for it. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like
But
this one obviously finds more uses for it than the
100%.
average slice of life.
100%. You could tell that there's a lot of passion put into this project and a lot of effort and time. And I feel like with a lot of slice of life anime, on top of not really having the most crazy plot going on and storyline, it's like it just feels like it's just like sometimes it feels like it's the same thing with some isekai, some like seasonal isekai. It feels like they're just doing something just to put something out versus something like this where I don't like slice of life and yet I fell in love with the characters and the story and I was looking forward to the next episode and I was like rooting on our protagonists and wanting them to succeed with their ambitions. And for anyone wondering, if you're just coming in here now, Bocchi the Rock follows the story of a group of girls in a band, specifically Hitori Goto, whatever. We'll just call her Bocchi. She has extreme social anxiety. She's a huge introvert, and for most of her life, she just kind of was alone. But she was trying to force herself to join a band so that she could become popular and make friends, and kind of as a result ends up facing her fears, and that's always very motivational for me. Seeing someone, regardless of if it's fucking like Kenichi or Asta, someone like overcoming their fears and like
Yeah,
entering their CHAD
exactly.
formation, like that always gets me going. But
Yeah.
also you get this cute group of girls trying to like joining a band, and their interactions are super fun, and they're trying to achieve like this crazy dream, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I value those transformations no matter see in slice of life they're portrayed differently,
Mm-hmm.
but they're no less significant.
100%.
And I commented about that when I watched Orange back in the day, around the time we were like starting our YouTube channel, and I did an Orange review, which was about like the anime Orange. If you guys don't know, it's also like a slice of life. But in that one, again, there was a character who it took her courage to just like, be more aggressive with a guy and to just give him like a letter and stuff like that. And it's easy to gloss over, but like, no, like that actually takes effort pushing your comfort zone, whether it's fighting like the demon lord or whether it's like, doing something socially challenging,
Yeah.
socially awkward. It takes courage, and I always respect it and appreciate it when people can do it.
100%. I think they handled it perfectly with Bocchi, right? Like she has this over the top paranoia and fear, and she was running away from it her entire life. And she'll like dip her toe in because for her friends or because she's passionate about music. She'll dip her toe into that world and then kind of recede back to her shell. But you still see like through all these funny moments and these over the top scenes, you see her like slow progress of like her even like when her parents finally reacted like, oh my god, you actually have friends, you're actually talking to them, wait, she served people, she gave someone a drink, like it seems so small to us, but she took like every
Yeah.
single episode she took numerous steps forward, and I just think they handled it so slowly but perfectly.
Yeah, someone in the chat said that they're not a slice of life fan either, but this one was bearable to them. And I think I like obviously I enjoyed it. It wasn't just bearable, but I want to go on that in the fact that I really like that we're making some people watch these anime they wouldn't usually watch.
Yeah.
And then like, obviously it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but just broadening some people's view of what could be a good anime and what genre they could check out and stuff like that. So I think like Briggs, this was really cool, and to know that like a Chad bald dude like Briggs can recommend this kind of anime, I think should give everyone courage to check
Yeah.
it out
I mean,
and to enjoy it.
I do have preferences, but a lot of time my preferences are just based off of my previous attempts at watching anime. It doesn't mean that there aren't fantastic isekai out there just
Exactly.
because there's a
Yeah.
million shitty isekai coming out now. It doesn't mean that there's not fantastic. I love there's like 3 to 5 slice of life anime that I'm obsessed with. Just a lot of them I end up dropping after 3 to 5 episodes just because I'm not into it. But this one, for example, I think they went over and beyond my expectations.
There's so many things I like about this, like including the fact that they're content creators, pretty much,
Hmm.
right? Like the YouTube thing, like she's a YouTuber, Guitar Hero, right? So she posts stuff on YouTube and she's like has this crazy skill, but people don't see it. They just see like a socially awkward introvert.
Yeah.
And so part of it is her dealing with that social media aspect to it, that content creation aspect to it. And I really enjoyed that as a content creator too. Like with
Hmm.
the way she interacts, the way she looks at YouTube, she's like, "Oh, I have 30,000 subscribers," and the fact that she balances. See, you hear introvert, and you think, for example, that someone may not care about like, let's say, being successful. They might just want to like, you know, kind of crawl away into a corner somewhere and not do anything. But I like that she has those contradictions within herself where it's like, no, she wants to like, she has all these fantasies about rocking out, about being super popular, but at the same time, she is an introvert and we see her struggle with that. So
Hmm.
I loved it. I think it was super three-dimensional.
I think another thing that this show did successfully is so a lot of times with slice of life or like these type of moe shows, the girls can't be similar. They all have to have a different stereotype that they fall into. And that was true for the most part with the main group. And yet they all felt like real people with real aspirations, real fears, real like positive qualities and negative qualities. And I couldn't help but like all of them. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I pulled up a character list, but I think I just want to call them blue-haired girl, blonde-haired girl, and red-haired girl.
Yeah, I
Uh,
probably will say the names, but go ahead.
Nijika Ichi, like I'm just gonna fucking butcher this shit.
Nijika, bro.
Nijika. Ikuyo? Or wait, everyone just called her Kita, right?
Kita is what they
Kita,
call
that's
her, yeah.
easy, and Rio is easy. Got it.
Rio is, yeah. So I think like that was another, and again, I think maybe it's because we're friends, maybe it's because we've been doing this together for a while, but we have a lot of the same thoughts.
Hmm.
And that was also one of my thoughts where it's like I love the fucking characters.
100%. I'm a
This
very
world is
character-driven person.
this world is so like well fleshed out, and all of these side characters, sometimes artists will just throw in a character to move the story forward or something like that, but all of these characters have interesting personalities. I love the way they vibe together,
Hmm.
their dynamics. It's fucking amazing. Even the drunk girl, who I'm having trouble seeing her name because she's not one of the listed main characters, but the bassist that has a following, but she's drunk all the time. Do you
Hmm.
remember her?
Yeah.
The one Rio looks up to. Like she's such an entertaining character. I love that she used to go to school with Nijika's older sister who runs the bar, and the sister was her senpai, and so they have their own unique relationship. On top of the fact that Hitori and the drunk girl got their own unique relationship because they met outside and played in front of the street for everybody. It's just so cool. The world seems so alive, and I can't say that for every show I
Yeah,
watch.
100%. Someone just said they donated 100 bits to say, what is Rio's character archetype? I couldn't quite put my finger on it.
Uh,
Um,
I think wasn't it said wasn't Tsundere brought up for
no,
some character at
she's not a
least?
tsundere. There's no way.
Tsundere was brought up for some character. I remember like there was a whole scene where she was like Tsundere, and then she's like, "Yo, you say Tsun way too many times." But I don't know if that was in context to
Um,
her.
if anything, the boss is more of a tsundere. Like pretending she's like
Yeah,
bad and
for
she's
sure,
pretending she's
for
like
sure.
like not rooting them on and not their fan and doesn't think they have good music. The
I
the boss
agree.
is more of a tsundere. I would
Rio to me is a
say
pretty obvious type. It's the type of Ray from what's it called? What's that anime everyone loves? The old philosophical one with like the mechas. Evangelion. Evangelion. So she's like the I feel like that's straight-faced type. Obviously, she's more emotional, like
I
in this
feel
group.
like low key,
Go ahead.
she's like one of those girls that puts up a front and is like on Tumblr. I can't
I have
even
no idea
describe.
what that means. I
Like,
have no idea
she's
what that
not a
means.
kudere because she's not quiet and reserved. She could be quiet, but she's trying to play off like the cool persona. Like she's so cool. She plays bass. She has all these like artsy um, like views, whether it's for food or other things. She's a hipster, dude. She's literally a
Yeah,
hipster.
she's like an I don't give a fuck trying to present that out to the world, but then we see moments where like clearly that's a front and she
Yeah.
does care. Like when she was like she looked smug about playing at a concert and then everyone like booed and didn't like it and she looked smug and then like a second later she's like, "Oh, it's like that time I cried after that concert." And it's like, "Oh shit, she actually
Yeah.
cared about it."
She puts up
So
the too cool front.
too cool for school front for sure. Yeah, and yeah, fuck, man. Like I just love the way they vibe and like Kita is like loves Rio, but then all of a sudden she learns stuff like that Rio can't even hold certain things in her head, and she's like, I'm gonna erase that from my memory because like I want to just look at the positives of you. Ah, man,
She thinks that like that Ryu is so mysterious and like smart, but really she's just dumb, and that's why
yeah,
she's so mysterious and does things on like a whim.
that's funny. I think that's the case with like a lot a lot of people. You could be like, bro, when people don't open up a lot, you could assume the
Yeah.
best, right? But
Quiet
then
people
it's
get a
like,
bad rap. Quiet people get a lot of things interpreted for them and their personalities interpreted until you actually get to know them.
but it's not necessarily a bad rap because it could be a good rap,
Yeah,
right?
I guess what
Like,
I'm saying.
yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
things are interpreted. It could go either way.
But I
This
agree.
person's
I
so cool because they're
absolutely,
quiet. Meanwhile, they're just like
absolutely
super,
love
super
these
shy.
characters. Yeah. And Kita, even like she kind of came last, so I'm sort of like the least attached to her.
Hmm.
But it was funny how she's supposed to be like the super cute, bright one. Not bright in the smart sense, but just like bright as in emanates the cuteness or whatever.
Hmm.
And so there's all these scenes like where it's focusing on it, and like they can't bear it. They're like, I can't even look at their eyes. They turn to ash because of like how bright she is, and it's like, holy shit. I love how far these guys are willing to go for a joke, right?
Oh
The
yeah.
animators. Like you have a normal situation, and in order to describe it, they'll have her like breaking off into a pool of lava or something like crazy like that, end of the world esque, just to show how she's feeling. Or they jump to the end credits. That was, I think, the first episode where they're like jump to the end credits and it's like, oh, that's the end because she felt like she was gonna die, right? Or she didn't think she could keep going. So all of that metafictional, like playing with your expectations of the genre, I really enjoyed that as well.
Hmm. Is there any specific scenes that you remember that you really, really liked, or do you want to talk about like I think the music in this show was also executed really well.
Scenes that I really liked. So it was to me, it was like one that stands out right now. And by the way, like it's so easy for me to forget specific scenes because like I'm just enjoying, I'm watching it. Um, I watched it with a friend and she also like enjoyed and said she would finish it on her own because she enjoyed it like that
Nice.
much. So it was just like a good watching experience. But the one that stands out to me now, and it could be like recency bias, was when she at the end jumps out on stage for during the concert. And like you think this is gonna be this crazy epic moment where she finally gets like the adoration from the people, and no one catches her. She tries to crowd surf, no one catches her. She drops on her face. They had one song left to perform,
I love
and
how the moment it was for her. It's literally like, do I speak into this mic and have a conversation with the crowd, or do I? It's literally that, or jump off stage into the crowd because rather than talk, she feels more comfortable literally leaping off and trusting that people will catch her, and that'll be way more epic and way more cool. And she feels way more comfortable doing that than just speaking and saying, "Hey guys, hope you guys enjoyed."
oh, I know it's such an easy decision for her, and just the way they play with her expectations, because comedy
Yeah.
is usually just boils down to people fucking with your expectations, getting you out of autopilot. It was just so funny to me. I'm like, really? The final episode ends on like her making a fool of herself, where it could have been like this crowning achievement moment. It's pure to the show, but it's funny that they chose to do that. And it's like, it reminds me like, yeah, we're still in the grind. We're still making progress towards the dream of becoming like a successful band. But no, I love that move. I thought it was absolutely great for the final episode to do something like that.
I also really love how so a lot of music, not a lot. There's a few that I really liked, and I find they play the same fucking song or two over and over and over again because they have that one recorded, and it'll save them money to put out that one banger. And I found at least they had like a good 3 or 4 songs that they played throughout the duration of the 12 episodes, all of which
Yeah.
I think were like I don't know, it was just really they were just really well done.
So I can't comment a lot about um the way the band was performed compared to other anime because like I haven't watched K-On!, I haven't watched Beck, which I know is an acclaimed like musician anime.
You have
But
watched your boy Kong Ming.
yes, I
And
have.
if you
I have,
recall,
which is a bit different because they didn't play instruments, right? It's not
yes,
really a band per se.
there's still performances going
Yeah.
on though, and
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
find other than like that one rap battle, most of the songs by the protagonist and your boy Kong Ming was the same one or two over and over and over again. And when she would play a different song, they would cut away quickly because it seemed like they recorded one thing good and then let us just use that over and over and over again. And a
yeah, yeah.
similar thing with K-On!, you heard them practice a little bit. You got like one mini performance and then one big performance at the end, and it was more or less like the same song, if I remember correctly. Or like
What was
you don't
cool?
you didn't get a
Yeah.
lot. You didn't get a lot of it, and it wasn't like an extreme amount in this. But we still got to see 2 or 3 performances with a variety of multiple songs, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, me too.
The other music anime I really like is Kids on the Slope. I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I watched that too.
That
Yeah.
has an insane vibe. It wasn't exactly the same as like a band was singing, but the vibe was
That
top tier.
shit has it's just depressing. Like that
The
shit
ending is
like
too
it's a
real.
good
The ending
show,
is too real
but
for
like
me. I fucking hate the
this
ending.
this is this is a lot more lighthearted and
Hmm.
fun compared to that. But yeah, it's a great show. Kids on the Slope's a great show. I wanted to say that yeah, I think the music was great and unique to me in the sense that they showed like for example she's playing and I'm not a musician, right? So I don't really know, like I can't really tell what's going on when the band is playing, if they're like butchering it. I can't really tell, like I'm not a music guy. But it was helpful having her thoughts during the
Hmm.
process of the music, and she's like, oh fuck, I'm not playing as good as I usually do, right? And I liked, like I'm used to the Haruki Suzumiya approach where they do a concert episode and they kill it in the concert and like everything goes great. I loved watching this actual like, oh man, I'm not playing as good as I can because like the nerves are actually affecting me, but hey, the point is to just like progress and try to do our best. And like sometimes the crowd is not into it, sometimes the crowd's like
Hmm.
leaving, or man, we should have came later. And that just got so real compared to like a lot of those that just for fun do a concert episode. Because yeah, that's what the reality of being a musician is. Sometimes people won't like it. It's like comedians, like sometimes they'll bomb, especially when starting out and trying stuff. And so I really enjoyed getting part of that experience. And it makes it all the better when you see her like rock out in a solo or something. Like you actually feel happy for her. You feel into the music. You really get into it. And yeah, I really appreciate that aspect of the show. It's not just W after W. There, it shows you the journey of getting there.
Speaking of journeys, I was watching 3 episodes a night during my subathon, and I just never wanted to go to bed. I just wanted to keep on watching the next episode. But I was forcing myself to like make it extend for the subathon and do it every night, whatever, with my viewers and all that. And man, I don't think I've enjoyed watching like a newer anime. So like not counting things like I don't know, like Bleach or Mob Psycho. Like I honestly think Bocchi the Rock is anime of the year. I haven't watched a newer series that made me feel what I did, fall in love with the characters to this extent, and just want to watch the next episode so badly in a long time. Like it's literally, I think it's my anime of the year right now
And that's great. I love
for
hearing
last year,
that.
that is.
And we always say this, and Briggs disagrees with me, but like I feel like you can't judge even like this anime compared to a shonen anime, but you can judge your enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
So props to that. But for me, it's like this is almost filling a different, like, let's say we as humans consume art because we have specific needs that art fulfills, and one of that may be entertainment or whatever. And I feel like slice of life shows like this just have a different, they fulfill a different thing than like crazy ass shonen shows, and I think you have space for both at different times, right?
100%. 100%.
And but
They're
yeah,
both good
I
in their own ways. I think my overall enjoyment and like critiques of the
which is
shows.
huge. It's
Yeah,
huge you saying that you enjoyed this as like who you are,
dude, not even
more than
close. Like
Chainsaw
not even
Man.
close.
Like
I
I
got
love
my
that.
enjoyment for this is double to triple the amount for than Chainsaw Man. I think
No, that's amazing. I love
Spy X
hearing that.
Family is closer to Chainsaw Man for me.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Yeah, and another thing I got into, which I haven't before while watching like music anime, was I'm the kind of guy who, like, let's say I'm in Europe, right, where they have like those outdoor cafes and stuff.
Hmm.
I like sitting down and listening to live music, to like a live band.
Yeah.
You know, they're singing like English speaking songs or whatever, and it's cool there because English is not the main language. But like, I just enjoy and like hearing it. They don't have to be like famous or anything. I just like the live music atmosphere, and I kind of got that while the band was playing music. I enjoyed it like I was like sitting in a
That's what
cafe,
I'm
and
saying,
I
man. It
never.
felt real. They made
Yes,
the
it did.
characters and the performances, and somehow through like the passion that this studio put into it, they made it feel real, man.
Yes, I agree, and I props to them because I was never once, in fact, I was the opposite, but I was never once feeling like, hey man, finish the song. Let's get to the
No.
story point of it. I was always like, fuck yes, another song. Like I'm so into this. I love that we got another song. I love I'm a guy who loves words. Like I studied literature and I love like just reading the song lyrics
Hmm.
as well was a part I really enjoyed, as just as much as just hearing the music. So yeah, there was so much that to offer here. You know, you're watching some friends hanging out, right? You're watching an introvert struggle on her journey. You're enjoying music, like you're watching a concert, but also you have this vested interest because you're following them as if they're your friends, right? So yeah, wow. This, along with the comedic memeable
I was
moments
gonna say
that are
I actually
around every
laughed out.
corner.
I actually laughed out
Yeah,
loud a
go ahead.
couple times.
No, me too. I mean, that's not impressive to me
That's
necessarily
impressive to
because
me.
like I do laugh out loud a lot, probably to the annoyance of like my father sometimes. But yeah, I do laugh out loud for sure. But yeah, this definitely was one of the ones that made me laugh out loud.
I can't remember all the moments. There was one moment where she was like Bocchi was defeated in a Yamcha-esque way. That was a reference to
Oh
Dragon Ball.
yes! Fuck yes! Thank you so much for bringing that up. I love that. I love how the anime actually dealt with like those homages to
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. There's another time where I feel like this is relatable to our generation and culture. She felt like she had enough money from YouTube, which again, very relatable. Like she got AdSense, her father set it up
Yeah.
for her. And so she's like, "Oh fuck, I got," well, and I looked it up because I was curious. She got the equivalent of like 3,000 Canadian dollars all at once. And for like a middle school kid, obviously that's a
Yes.
lot. And so she's like, fuck, I can quit now. And she's at work and she's like,
Hmm.
fuck, I feel so strong. Like she has Super Saiyan aura, and then she just goes like Super Saiyan 2, like her hair goes up and she has those like electricity coming off of her. And she's like, fuck yeah, I can quit now, I can quit. And then she goes to the point where she's actually gonna try to quit, but then her like introversion comes in and she's like, oh, I'm just gonna keep, I just want to say I'm gonna keep doing my best here. Thank you.
Dude, there was multiple moments, multiple times that I laughed out loud, and for me,
Oh
that
my
doesn't actually
god.
happen that often with anime. And I
I
think it helps
love,
that I fell in love with the characters a lot, and I was immersed into the series.
yes. And this is something that respects you being an anime fan already
Hmm.
and pays homage to stuff you like Dragon Ball Z, right? Even though it's kind of like a girly show because you don't like, all of the characters are pretty much girls. I can't think of
Yeah.
like one named dude character except the dad. Like all of them are girls, and yet you have these like fucking hardcore shonen anime being referenced, fighting anime in hilarious ways. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this, and I'm surprised by how much I could enjoy a show that didn't have dude characters.
Dude, I don't think I have a single complaint. Like genuinely, I don't think I have a single complaint for the entire series.
My only complaint, which is not even it's their fault because it's just me. Like sometimes the subtitles went by too quick, and I'm like, shit. Like that was just me being
Like
unable to read fast enough sometimes. But
it's
because
because
it's like
it's
deadpan
comedy, so
humor. It's like
they were speaking really
yeah,
really fast because it was like
yeah,
comedic moments.
to deliver a thing exactly like and it's like everyone's like reacting and stuff like that. So sometimes it was like that, but through no fault of their own. That was just me not being able to read quick enough. But Japanese people could hear it and totally understand
Bro,
what was going
you need to
on.
train like I did. I've trained so many times on anime that I'm just not in love with, where I just watch it at like 1.5 or 2 times speed, and you just get like nowadays when I'm reading normal anime, I'm like, Bakura, this is too easy.
Yeah, yeah. No, perfect. No, yeah, for me, like, yeah, sometimes it was too quick, but not a lot. Like I could think of maybe like once or twice where that happened, and I was like too lazy to rewind. I saw that in the comments, like someone's like, "Hey, just rewind," goes and I'm like, "Yeah, I just where's the remote? I'm not gonna look for it." You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I did really enjoy it as well. Like there was nothing that stood out to me as being like super problematic or anything. Like
Dude, man,
nothing ruined my enjoyment
it was
of the
super.
series.
Sorry, it was super cute. It was super fun. It was funny. You were like attached to the characters. You wanted them to succeed. Honestly, like there was not like the music was great. The comedy was great. It was just there was genuinely nothing that I could really think of. Like I usually always have a complaint, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Another thing I enjoyed, and this is just a random fact, is I love how she set up her stuff in her closet. So she has like this like dark space where she's safe and like likes hang out. Like I always for some reason as well, I like small cozy places. And like as a kid, I also like would like chill out in my closet. So it's funny, like that just reference as well. Like I enjoyed that she actually hung out in her closet. I don't do it anymore, but
Do I like
uh
it better than K-On? I do like it better than K-On. I think K-On's good for a lot of reasons, um, but I do think that the music's a little bit better in this show. I think personally, I like the characters a little bit more. The characters in K-On! Are fantastic as well, but I think there's a little bit more like deepness or depth to these characters because you get their backstories and their struggles and stuff like that. Not that there's no depth to the characters in K-On! I just tend to like these ones a little bit more, and because you got like the main character having like social anxiety and all that, it adds a lot of comedic relief moments, and again, the music's a little bit better too.
which
So
it didn't have to. Well, like in the sense of like just because there's like an character anxiety, like it doesn't necessarily mean there's gonna be comedy. Obviously, this
yes,
is a comedy, but I enjoy that approach. I enjoy that it's like, yes, she has social anxiety, but we could like laugh about it like comedians do, rather than it being like, the super depressing
yes.
way of expressing it, right?
But
So
with K-On!
yeah,
They're like not with K-On! With this series, like having depth to your main character like this to complicate every situation, I think adds a lot of value to the series.
yeah, exactly.
And it gives you something
And
to look forward to, and you get to see the development that she goes through. I honestly like. Obviously, every genre is very different, but this is as close to a 10 out of 10 I could give to
nice.
for a slice of life,
And it's
man.
such a shocking one. Like, imagine explaining this to like your bro friends. Like, obviously, like everyone knows you like anime or something, but just
Yeah.
imagine like you were on a like a rugby team or something, and like you guys are just hanging out. They don't know you like anime, and you're like, bro, you gotta watch this show about like middle school girls, like,
I
and
know,
one has
right?
social anxiety, and they're in a band. They're like, it's my
It's
favorite anime, bro.
it's so not like up my norm. It's so not something that like usually I would like or talk about or like praise to this extent.
No, exactly. And some musicians, like I feel like a lot of musicians and creative people are introverts, and some musicians, as we've seen, just keep something on their head, whether it's a bag, whether it's a Mickey Mouse logo, whether it's like you could think about many people who cover their head as musicians. And so she could have, just been like, I'm gonna be the in a box person. But it's cool how you see her actually like working through that. And like some musicians didn't even make it that far, right? And yet
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, I'm gonna like push to actually show myself and play in front of people. Like it's really cool.
You would never think it, but I actually relate. I feel like I relate to Bocchi to a certain extent.
No, I do to a certain extent too. I do think she's extreme, and obviously, I think as we get older, we give less fucks. I do think that's the
100%. With
case.
age, you gain like confidence through like
Yeah,
all your life experiences and stuff. But I think at the end of the day, like she is trying to build a following, right? Like she's an influencer online. She's trying to get popular through a band, and she's facing a lot of. It's really tough for someone with anxiety. And I don't really think I never really had like extreme anxiety per se, but it was never something easy. You always had to push yourself into tough situations.
yeah,
Like
and
I have a speech impediment, right? And it was way worse when I was
yeah,
younger.
you talk about it, but like I didn't even know.
Go back to my first couple of videos, and
Yeah,
it's pretty apparent, right? But I forced myself.
yeah,
Like I took communication classes. I minored in communication in university because I constantly was pushing myself. That's part of the reason I started my YouTube channel was to force myself to like. I found in high school there wasn't a lot of opportunities for public speaking, for like speeches and like presentations. Like there wasn't that much, and I found whenever I did one, I feel like I would like improve at like speaking to an audience and speaking to people. So part of the reason I started my YouTube channel in the first place was to work on that. Like I wanted to talk about anime and get my anime out, whatever, because I didn't really have friends that watched as much anime as I did. That was one reason as well. But a lot of it is I wanted to work on like my communication skills.
yeah, for sure. And I think that's really cool perspective that you have, and you have that like view of like you're gamifying life, right? You're
Yeah.
like, all right, to build my XP in speech giving, I need to do more speeches.
That's
You
just,
know, I need to start a YouTube channel. I mean, that is the way to approach it. She's like, I need to get in a band,
yeah.
right? And I do think that's relatable too, including the fact that you know she's like this uh 30,000 subscriber, which 30,000 is a lot of people, right? Anybody in middle school or like even in adult world will be like, cool, 30,000 people want to follow you. And then she's super confident on there, right? Like no one knows who she is. She just probably shows her fingers and guitar. And then she's introverted in real life. And it's like PewDiePie. Like
Yeah.
he's introverted in real life, but it's like on video you can almost do anything you want. Like
Yeah.
you have that creativity. So that was relatable to that like aspect to yeah, you could do like crazy things online, but it's not like you're gonna act like that with strangers you don't know, right? So
Yeah,
that was
I don't do it as much anymore, but for a long time I feel like I mean I still kind of have the mindset where it's like if you're bad at something or you have you're lacking in certain ways, you shouldn't just ignore it and focus on the stuff that you're good at. Like maybe in the long run sometime when you're really good at something, kind of focusing it on that, like you could really succeed and like go to the top of that profession or that
yeah, it's
sport
good
or
for making
whatever.
money for sure.
Yeah, like when you're really if you're gifted at something, focusing on that I'm sure will help you. But in order to like become a well-rounded person, I think focusing on some of your weaknesses, especially at like a younger age, will just help you like become a more well-rounded person.
100%. Like I definitely think that doubling down on what you're good at is the quickest way to like get paid.
Hmm.
But I do think like certain things,
I
you
think
know,
it'll
you
hurt
want
you
to
in the
get a
long run.
handle on.
I think it'll hurt you in the long run. Like if you're really good at math and science, don't get me wrong. I think you should go into a math or science field like as you pursue future education. But when you're like fucking in elementary school or like high school, you should be taking fucking English classes, literature classes, drama, art, taking things that are not in your expertise.
I have a fun story. So English was at one point my worst subject, and then I ended up doing a master's in it. So
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
math was my best subject. But
Like it
yeah,
always
like
kind of bothers me when people are like, "Yeah, no, I'm good at math and science," and like that's my thing, and like everything else, it's just like they almost because they have that mindset that they're not good at other things. It's like they don't put that effort into those other things because it's already predetermined. It's like, oh yeah, I'm good at my math, I'm bad at English, and that's it.
yeah, cool thing I had, which looking back, I'm like I'm impressed at myself is I never thought about the money. Like I always like at school, you know, math, you could get paid with math, like right? Like you with engineering with stuff like that.
Yes.
But I was always like I'm not super excited about math. Like I could do the equations, but I'm not super excited about it. And I'm super excited about like stories and literature and stuff like that. So I pursued that without thinking at all. Like, you know, people always make fun of English majors for like not being able to do anything, you know? Like obviously you can teach abroad and stuff like that, but in most cases they end up working at Starbucks or
Yeah.
something like
The
that,
only
not
negative
using their degree.
I like that like it's like you chased your passion. The only thing that hurts is like schooling is expensive, right? If it was just like, oh, I want to pursue this because I'm passionate about it, But at the end of the day, it's like, especially in the U.S., man, if you're gonna drop like
Yeah, I'm
200K,
not recommending that
yeah,
approach. It's just the way I always just looked at what's interesting to me, and
yeah,
I never looked
I
at the
respect
money, and
that.
it worked out for me. But like I don't obviously, I'm not saying, do something with no job prospects, spend $100,000 on it, and
Yeah,
just hope for the
it
best.
kills me inside when I hear people doing that, man.
No, me
It
too. And honestly,
really
real
kills
life
me
talk.
inside.
Yeah, real life talk. I was lucky because I didn't have to really pay for university because I had a parent that worked at a university, so I kind of got like free tuition and stuff
Oh,
like
that's
that.
sick.
So that's totally different for me. But yeah, I would not recommend anyone like going into debt without a plan of like what you're gonna do to get out of it, right?
I
Because
mean,
you could become a slave, debt slave, before you even realize what the fuck's going on.
yeah, I think a lot of people end up becoming teachers because they took a course or something that like has no job prospects, right? And they don't
Yeah,
want to.
that's what even me, who was like thinking about what do I like to do, was like, yeah, I'll just do teachers college as a backup,
Yeah.
just like
And
in
then you
case
and
I
then
need to
you then
teach
you end up
English.
with an abundant amount of teachers that aren't overly passionate about it.
Oh, yeah, math's majority, man. Like I've been in these circles because I finished teachers college and stuff. Like I know a lot of teachers and like I've spoken to a lot of teachers and stuff. A
Bro, I
lot of
hate
them are
teachers.
just like every other job, man. Like
I
every other
know.
job, they're
No,
like,
they're
I
normal
can't wait to
people.
retire.
They're normal
They're,
people.
yeah, yeah, they're normal
When you're in
people.
high school and these fucking teachers have these like superiority or like god complexes, like you got to remember, like they're normal people. Like adults for the most part are just grown up fucking children. Like
It's very hard to understand that as a kid though,
yeah, it's
because I
hard.
was a kid and I just could not, as like until university, I could not look at adults as like ourselves, like with like just as many flaws and stuff like that. For some reason, like I didn't see it that way. But yeah, like all these adults are are deeply flawed human beings, like all of us,
And
and
they're just pretending. It's just an act.
yeah, exactly. They need to, especially in high school, because they need authority in the
Yes, they do.
classroom. And one of the ways you get that is to pretend you're in control of everything. And so, yeah, for sure.
No, but
Just
the egos hurt me. I think
and yeah, go ahead.
I think at like I guess like as I hit like 16, 17, I started to lose respect for so many teachers. It was so bad. Because
Yeah,
you
like I
still have to be
was.
respectful, obviously. But when they have these egos, it drove me nuts.
Yeah, you have to be
It's like no, I'm going to
respectful.
the fucking like. There's literally times where the teacher told me I couldn't go to the bathroom. I literally just walked out the door. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Ooh, badass
Yeah,
Brit.
I have like irritable bowel like issues. Like, don't
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me I
yeah.
can't
I
fucking go
have
to
a
the
friend that
bathroom
has
because you're
that
in the
too.
middle of something. If it's like, oh, could you mind make it waiting like a minute or two and then you could go, versus like approaching it with like the ego,
Yeah, yeah.
always
And I
like,
hated when they were like, I don't know, can you? It's like,
yeah,
shut the
fuck off.
fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, next time your teacher's causing trouble, just be like, what color's your Bugatti?
It's I don't know. It's such a I don't know. It always drove me nuts.
No, yeah, I was never usually the one that was like causing trouble with teachers, although I did have trouble sometimes when like me and my buddy wouldn't stop joking around when she was like, don't joke around, don't laugh, and then we just couldn't
I will.
contain ourselves. But yeah, after teachers college though, like I do have more empathy for teachers
Oh,
than I
100%.
did before.
I feel
Because I'm
bad
like,
as well for a lot
fuck.
of teachers. They had to deal with a lot of my friends that were fucking like so disrespectful and so like
Keep in mind, bro, there are also kids who don't do like the parents at home have no control over them,
yeah.
right? So like they just bow to whatever they want, and you trying to discipline them is just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
there's no way if the parents raised them that they could do whatever they want. You're like, yo, I'm gonna call your parent. You're like, cool, call her, and then the parents like, yeah, yeah, it's like he says. It's like, what the fuck? Like, some kids are crazy, and I empathize with teachers, but yeah, I see both perspectives, especially as
100%.
like
I
a
definitely see
dude
both
coming up.
perspectives. I felt bad for a lot of teachers, but I do think a lot of teachers, like over the years of bossing, like imagine bossing people around for like 20 years. Like their egos are just fucking through the roof.
You'd be surprised though. There's a lot that aren't, but they have to put up the front that they are in
Hmm.
some cases, just so they have some kind of authority in the classroom.
Yeah,
But a
that's
lot,
true.
it's like very uh it's not very deep for a lot of
It
them.
feels like they probably feel like they have to because of all the shit they've dealt with over those 20 years, you know?
Yeah, like I've literally had teachers that like burst out into tears and like ran out because of comments from kids. So like definitely
They're human
that's not
too.
my experience for all of them
They're
and stuff
human
like
too,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I like how discussing this like school anime brought us like back to talking about
Yeah, I
school
know,
and
right?
stuff like this is the beauty of the anime version too. It's not like a YouTube video where you're like just focusing nonstop on only the anime. Not, we could actually throw in like, yo, this applies to real life, bro.
It's true. And that's what I
It's
love about Twitch as
enjoyable
well.
too.
Like, it just goes anywhere. Like, we start off with a podcast and we just talk about whatever.
Yeah, I think podcasting and Twitch is similar in that it's almost like hanging out with friends.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be like this presentation, right? So you could just talk as you would with friends, and it's completely cool, and people understand that that's the format. Whereas with YouTube videos, it's not always like that, right? They're expecting concise information, and
That's
yeah,
true.
it's I definitely
Well,
enjoy
people
it.
have it's the attention span per app and per medium of entertainment is very different, right? I think nowadays we're getting people like if you look at Mr. Beast, look at his YouTube videos. It's like every 15 seconds is like a new fucking cut with like it's like his YouTube videos are like 30 TikToks combined.
Yeah, exactly.
And it
Yeah,
works.
we're
It
doing
works because it keeps people's attention. It's constantly going. And I think the quick form content on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, is like is one form of entertainment. And people that are on those platforms using those things probably have a very short, or at least they go in with the mindset of like a very short attention span. Versus if you're on Twitch and you're watching a podcast, they come for the conversation. So they know it's not going to be like crazy energy all the time. Oh my God, Bocchi the Rock is so cute. Did you see the music? Blah, blah, blah. Like,
exactly. By the way, Zame TV, thank you so much for rating. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I agree 100%, and I think that we're almost like, if you're watching stuff like this and listening to stuff like this, it's almost doing you a service because you're not like it's like anti-ADD medicine, right?
yeah.
Like it's the same with anime almost, like most anime, like obviously this had over the top moments, but compared to like TikTok or something, even watching an anime is like building your concentration muscles,
Yeah.
right? Just being able to
I
sit there
my
and just
concent
watch.
my concentration is getting worse and worse over the years. 1000%. I could never go back to school. I don't think I could go back to school and sit through a 3 hour lecture. I was barely able to do it back in the day, and I think 3 hour lectures are a joke, and they should be like an hour and a half at max, or like at least a 20-minute break or something. Just because like attention span, like it was after an hour, I clock out. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, because I don't have like ADD. Did you have ADD? Were you
No,
like
I don't.
diagnosed with that? No.
I think I have a shitty attention span. Like I think if something's boring, I am so ready just to do my own thing and like whatever daydream or whatever. I do want to say even with anime, like there's sometimes where the anime like the first 5 minutes of an episode are so slow. I'm like you need to present the world and the story a little bit. Like you need to present the main character a little bit more than what like so like some of them like they take a really artistic approach, and it's like you're losing me, man. And I'm sure it's gonna be good. And I could tell usually when something has quality put into it, so I'll like stick through it. But when something just looks like shit, I'm like, all right, I'm out before I even give it a chance. It's just so
And
bad.
the problem's gotten worse as time goes on because you see that back in the day, like 10 years ago, an anime had a lot more leeway
Hmm.
with like how fast it starts and like how fast the inciting incident starts and stuff like that. But nowadays, like it's almost like anime on steroids. Like you compare, I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man to like, Dragon Ball Z or something. Shit
It's
gets going
crazy.
so much quicker.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's insane. Like you can't even compare, and it's because we've had that, we've got used to that, and then we have like TikTok and stuff going on, and people just like need the fucking action right away, like a drug, and they can't just like sit back and
100%.
wait for it. And I
So
think a
I want.
key, let me just
Go
say, a
ahead.
key to fighting that is doing what I do and just like reading, because like sitting and like reading a book, I feel like will help anybody who wants more concentration, because like yeah, it's you're looking at a page, right? It's nothing's flashing. There's no switch it up, switch it up, switch it up.
I always struggled
So
with
it'll
reading
it'll
them.
help, but like obviously not everyone reads.
I
So
always
it is what it is.
struggled. Like sometimes I would get really invested in something if it was like, and I would like really read the entire book. But a lot of times I would read the same page like 5 times. I'm like, I'm not absorbing this because I'm reading words and not actually like present.
You have to get through that. Yeah, I like you have to get through that because that's if you haven't read in a long time, that'll just be the norm, and then you
Hmm.
have to like push through it, and eventually you get to the point where that's not happening. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Hooky Wookie, thank you for 1,000 Magic's crystals.
Uh,
Says school is for fools. I will disagree with that. I do think there are situations where it makes sense, and I loved school personally. But yeah, in a lot of cases, people are becoming debt slaves, and it's not fun. It's not good for a lot of people.
yeah, it's sad because you kind of need the piece of paper. It's more about sometimes it's more about the piece of paper than the education itself, and I
Or
think
status.
I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
like
that's a sad reality
it's like you
because
want to tell people that like, yo, I'm educated,
I
right?
think education is so important. However, nowadays it almost feels like it's not even about the education. Um, I want to
Yeah,
read
like
one person's comment here. I think that's one reason I dislike Bocchi because when I tried to break out of my shell, I was bullied and made fun of. It wasn't this reality. So you're saying it's a little like unrealistic.
and I agree with that to an
Yeah.
extent because that's a good point because that crossed my mind as I was watching. Everyone's really nice to Bocchi.
Yeah.
And in real life, you'd have way more people just interacting with you who are not that nice. Like it was even said once that no one bullies her or anything. And obviously it's different with like girls and guys and the way they bully, but obviously there is girl bullying too. Um, and yeah, no, I did notice that everyone was pretty much nice to her, except maybe some online people who were like, "Hey, like she's not posting. Is she dead? Like what's going on?" But everyone else was like super nice to her, and that's the only thing. I agree. It's not realistic in that sense.
I think it's unrealistic a little bit as well. I do think anime tends to be unrealistic, and there's nothing really wrong with that. But it may have ruined your immersion specifically because you went through that. But at the same time, I do think that regardless of the scenario, there's always like a group of friends that will be nice. Like there's nice people out there, right? And I think you can make like it's not unrealistic for Bocchi to have made 3 friends while joining
No,
a band and them to like have her best interest in mind and like take her seriously. But I do think the fact that she has such extreme social anxiety to the point that it's affecting her serving people or when she goes to buy a guitar and everyone's being so fucking nice to her is a little bit unrealistic. And maybe that's from a Western perspective. I can't speak for Japanese culture, but I feel like people would have been so rude to her, and especially in school as well. I do think that's a little bit unrealistic. But
uh,
I don't think it's unrealistic for her to find 3 friends when she joins a band that like are
it's
nice.
not. Yeah, I agree with that. The positives aren't unrealistic. But then again, like you do have anime that deal with that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
March Comes in Like a Lion does deal with bullying, a female bullying as well. So I don't think every anime needs to deal with it. You know, like I can enjoy this and I like the lightheartedness, and I don't need to like I don't need someone to like bring in dark stuff into every anime, right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just want to chill and enjoy the happy vibes. And yeah, there's some social anxiety, but it's all hilarious. Like,
You know
it's
what?
all, it's
I
all,
kind of think that could be one complaint I had. I think her out in the wild, she could have been met or should have been met with maybe some distaste from others.
there you go.
There we go.
Yeah,
One complaint. I never even thought of that.
there you go. And to me, like, it's not an issue at all. It doesn't affect my enjoyment. But yeah, if we're just like trying to say how realistic the story is, yeah, you could say that. But to me, I don't need to see that in every anime, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
True. I think I was very
Cool.
immersed in it, and it felt real regardless. But yeah, I never really thought about that. That's a
And I
very,
do
very
think
good point.
most people, and maybe I'm just optimistic, but I do think most people, when they see someone struggling, they want to help out.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know. I actually did think at one point when she was serving customers and like hiding, if I was the person being served, I'd be annoyed. I thought of that, and the person who was actually relatively nice, I believe, I don't remember exactly. Um, so I do remember thinking that at one point. So maybe that's one thing that might be a little bit unrealistic. It's like she's technically like a negative to society when she's out in the public, like with other people. Like
I do.
she's hindering people's service. She's affected. Like she went into a fucking guitar place, fucking smashing her head, giving people, making people think she's a beginner when she's actually not a beginner. Like, I don't know.
I have a huge amount of empathy for people like in general like that. So I don't think I would ever do that. But and people have attitude, which he never did, then I can get pissed off. Like,
Hmm.
but if people are like struggling, like they're new to a job or like, you can tell they have anxiety, I'm always like super chill, not like trying to hurry them or
Yeah,
whatever. But
but
if someone's like
that's
giving me
you.
attitude, then I'll be like, yo, fuck off.
Yeah. No, I hate rude customer service much more than someone who's a little bit shy,
Yeah,
without a
exactly.
doubt.
I'm always understanding for that kind of stuff. But again, not everyone's the same, and I feel like I do have
Dude,
like
people are
empathy.
people are so rude in the U.S. No offense. Every time I go to the U.S., I notice it. I don't know what it is about like customer service or like I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. Even if I just hold the door open for someone and they don't even just say thanks, bothers me. Fuck you. I want to slam that door in your face.
Yes,
I didn't
I'm
want the
not
thank you. I don't even care about the thank you. But the fact that you just like it's just another thing, like honestly bothers me.
I'm not
Have some
even that
manners.
extreme, man.
Have some
I'm not even
manners.
that extreme. The problem with that is like they didn't ask you to hold it open, right? So like I don't even expect anything, but I get like yeah.
No,
So
but I think it's
I
rude to
do.
shut a door on someone. The same way it's rude that when someone holds a door to not say thank you.
That's hilarious. No,
I
yeah,
don't
I've
like when
never
people
had
are
that.
over thankful or over apologetic. Like, okay, come on, it's not a big deal. But a little thanks goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think they should. But like I can't remember one time where I held the door and I thought, oh, they didn't respond the way I wanted to. Like I usually just like hold it or they usually are thankful. I don't know if I can even remember a time that they weren't, but if they weren't, I don't think
It's
I'd
always the
care.
fucking U.S. It's always the
I I,
U.S.
I don't go to
I think
US,
it's
so that
I
there's a
think it's
thing.
because you've become accustomed to how people are in Canada, and then when you go to
Probably.
the U.S., you notice people are just fucking rude. Like, don't bump into me when you're walking past me. Dude, every time I go, I notice it. I notice it. Just like, where are your manners? And not everyone's like that. I'm sure so many of you guys are great. It's like in public settings, it's every time. Compared to Canada, the manners are not there.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't speak to it because I don't ever go to America, but I do hear that Canadians are polite, and maybe that's just because they're used to America.
Yeah, I don't think we're that polite, but then when I go, I realize, oh, we are.
Exactly. I never thought like we're especially polite or anything, but
I
I
maybe
guess
it's not that we're nice; it's that they're rude.
that's our point of reference. Yeah, our
Yeah,
point
we
of
have,
reference is like that. Cool, man. Any closing thoughts on the anime we watched, Bocchi?
um, would recommend one of
Yeah,
my one of my
100%.
best viewing experiences in a while.
I would recommend, and like we said, the only potential fault you could hold to it is that it's more positive and lighthearted than maybe is realistic. But if you're in the mood for something fun, lighthearted, a strong recommend. Even if you're the chadliest of chads, I do recommend it, even though it's about
Yeah.
like high school girls. So yeah, there it is. Do we know what we're gonna discuss next time? Is it Spy X Family or did you want to do something else?
Um, I'm not sure. I'm down for
All
Spy
right.
X
Well,
Family. I'm not against it.
all right. So working title or working idea right now is season one of Spy X Family or the first 12 episodes or whatever.
Have you watched Vinland Saga?
Yes. Did we cover it in this or no?
We did not. Vinland Saga
I'm
season 2
told
dropped today.
yeah. Like so what did you want to do? Did you want to do the first season?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing the first season. We just have to
I would
find a
love to
virgin.
rewatch it.
So
So the thing is, I'm not a virgin, but we could try to get a virgin, and just if not, like we just talk about it, and then we're
so
still virgins for season two. I am.
sounds good. I think for now we're doing Spy X Family. I'm gonna message someone that I think hasn't watched it and see what if they have yet, and then we'll go from there.
All right, perfect. Thank you guys so much. Remember, if you enjoy the podcast, do leave a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple and stuff like that. We are approaching we're approaching 1,000, like we're at 800 something. We're approaching 1,000 reviews on Anime Virgin on Spotify. So if we could get to 1,000, that would be fucking awesome. I think that would be a great number of people that gave us a rating, and it's 4.9 right now. So
Hell
feel free to
yeah.
leave a five. Feel free to leave a five. But anyways, until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.
Bang.